All right, have you ever been watching all of the stuff that Trump's doing and all of the cabinet members are doing, the way all of these people behave as though they're never going to face accountability? And you think, God, I really want Nuremberg trials. I want these fuckers to face it full throat of the justice system. Well, I have bad news for you. The president has immunity, and the Supreme Court implicitly made that ruling with Trump in mind. And so there's no accountability that he's ever going to face a justice. As for his cabinet, that's an interesting component to all of this, because typically you'd think, okay, if you're the mob boss, you think, okay, I've got immunity from Congress. We're going to do a bunch of illegal stuff. We're going to do whatever the F we want, however we want to. Consequences be damned, and I'll pardon every single one of you. But historically, historians note that autocrats rarely have a succession plan or even suggested. And in fact, they govern by divide and rule, where they keep the players under them competitive with each other so nobody feels like they're currying favor. So that's the main gist of what he's doing. But these guys that work for Donald Trump are so arrogant. They think they have the SCOTUS style immunity. And here's Corey Lewandowski. And let me just remind you of who Corey Lewandowski is. Corey Lewandowski is the guy that has been banging cosplayer Kristi Noem for 10 years. Both of them are married, they say, in quote unquote godly marriages. Pop this up. Corey Lewandowski says, I do whatever the fuck I want. Donald J. Trump will pardon me. Corey Lewandowski boasted while serving as Kristi Noem's top DHS aide, sources tell at Emily L. Gooden and Stephen Nelson. So this is from the New York Post. So these guys to say that in any other administration would be a huge scandal. If somebody that worked for the president of the United States and for the federal government used the phrasing very casually, I can do whatever the fuck I want to because the president's going to pardon me. Well, you 100% know that person's committing felony after felony after felony. They all know what they're doing is wrong if they're talking about pardons.
Well, and here's the thing, too. Let's not act like that he is the only one. Kristi Noem, I guarantee you the fiscal autopsy on her reign at DHS is going to find she and Corey Lewandowski profited mightily. Go to Dumb and Dumber. Like, everybody in this administration is committing crimes. There's not enough ink in an auto pen to pardon all the people in this administration that are committing crimes.
I agree with that. Okay. Pop up the next story, Kylie. Alan Smith posts, Trump has peppered aides in recent days about whether longtime advisor Corey Lewandowski profited personally from a $220 million federal advertising campaign featuring Kristi Noem, per 3 people familiar. And this is from NBC News. So this has been intentionally leaked by the White House to NBC. And so Trump is peppering. And here's the thing that we have to have a watch on at all times. So Kristi Noem was never the head of the DHS. She was a cosplayer because the person who runs DHS is Stephen Miller, full stop. And so Trump got mad at Kristi Noem because she humiliated him on an interview where she said, well, Trump approved my $200 million advertising campaign. And he knows that looks bad. And in an autocracy, the authoritarian can't be humiliated. So he embarrassed her and fired her while she was standing at a DHS lectern giving a speech. Mm-hmm. He tweets it. He publicly humiliates her and fires her. And now he is targeting Lewandowski through the press to let them know, like, you guys fucked me on this thing and I'm coming for you. And that's how catty and petty this workplace is. Trump's like, only I can profit the $220 million. Corey Lewandowski and Kristi Noem, you're not supposed to steal money from the American people. Only I can.
Well, and you know what else is interesting about that is that he is peppering aides about Corey Lewandowski. Corey Lewandowski was one of his campaign managers in 2016. He had to shit can him for sexual harassment allegations. Trump knows exactly who this motherfucker is. He knows he's profiting. I agree with you. He is running around. And here's the thing. If Trump doesn't pardon these people, they will face justice, in my opinion. I mean, I'm hopeful if the Democrats will grow a pair of balls. But interestingly enough, he pointed Kristi Noem, like the Avengers movie character, Freedom of America protector or whatever. We don't know that he's pardoned her. So I think he keeps all these people on the leash because he knows that they're criminals. He knows they're corrupt. He knows all that because
he hired them because they
right.
were.
Right.
I mean, that was the prerequisite. But I don't picture Trump, and this is just me. I do not picture him. Let's just imagine here that we get to 2028, that he's very neatly going to have a list of pardons, that he wouldn't. He's not a generous person.
No.
And pardoning people is an act of complete generosity. The pardon he's giving right now, he's making like $1 to $5 million a pop.
Yeah.
And so if Corey Lewandowski, Stephen Miller, all of these people aren't doing anything for him, he's not just going to be like, hey, you helped me break the law and do a bunch of shit, and I'm rich as fuck now and I have my Qatari jet. So yeah, I'll pardon you. That's not who he is.
No.
He's not that kind of person. All right. So as you can see, and as everybody knows, everybody except for the people that are MAGA Republicans see this clearly, but MAGA is a big tent party full of bigots. And the most alarming trend in all of this is the bigots are getting really young. It used to be just the bigots that watched Fox News. And now we have the college Republicans of America, new president, and he's a groyper. And just to remind you, viewer, what a groyper is Nick Fuentes is a 28-year-old, I believe, neo-Nazi right-wing podcaster, very popular with young men. And his followers are called the groypers. And they openly say they are neo-Nazi incels. Play the clip.
I was woken up on immigration. I started talking to more people about it within conservatism, and I kind of fell in love with the movement. Eventually, I went on to talk to Nick more. I was in the TikTok scene. He'd watch my stuff every once in a while. I'd send some messages into his show, and then I eventually had the chance to meet him during the White Boy Summer Road Trip in Vegas.
Hey!
So that's their best foot forward. That is the president of their college, like, across the country. This isn't like in rural Oklahoma at a little bitty tiny school. This is nationwide. And they're going on white boy summer tours. And this, it reminds me, remember just 2 weeks ago or shorter period of time, Miami-Dade's young Republicans, Nazis, racist. That's who they are. And these people are proud of it. Obviously, they're making videos about it.
Yeah, it's really fascinating, this regressive nature, because like the millennials came of age during the Obama era, and they tended to then morph into Bernie bros. Progressive masculinity was defined by taking up for the little guy and standing up to the bully. And for these Gen Zers that came up during the Trump era, that came of age, from 2015 on, you see culturally how this has impacted it. You see culturally how having a leader like that hates women, that's anti-Semitic, that's horrifically racist, horrifically bigoted. This is the outcome. This is the culture that electing people like this makes. And let's put up this next story. It gets worse, you guys. The New Yorker, Dennis Prager, once wrote a 2-part op-ed advocating that wives should have sex with their husbands even when they don't want to. Now his right-wing organization, PragerU, is partnering with the Trump administration to educate the youth of America. This is a right-wing nonprofit that's serving AI slop for America's birthday.
And the thing about PragerU is they don't just go after women. They do videos and series on how slaves were better off being slaves in America than they were in Africa. How multiculturalism is bad. How mixing the race, I mean, it is just, you cannot believe you're reading the shit you're reading. And not only is it popular amongst this administration, they want to incorporate it into school curriculums. Talk about indoctrination. Oh, and need I tell you, or did you already know, super Christian values, only God can save the world, all that shit, all rolled into one. So spare me indoctrination of teachers.
It's just when anybody is selling bigotry wrapped up in religion, it's a scam. It's red meat for shallow thinkers, for people that don't have empathy as a default setting, for people that really struggle to find compassion. And sadly, our government has set up a system of, we are for the individual and for corporations. And so we have created a culture where compassion and empathy become distant and distant and distant. And it's incredible to me, incredible how well the Republican Party has partnered with the far right Christians, the megachurchers, the evangelicals, and they have wrapped up with faith and capitalism this whole engine where cruelty is on the menu. It's on the menu at your hellfire damnation service. If you send your kids to one of these private Christian school, it's hate for dinner, hate for your school snack, homophobia, and racism for dessert. And the parents are all chips in on this shit. And I can't imagine. I remember telling my boys when they were really little, I would rather you make really bad grades than be an asshole. And if I ever found out, ever, that you picked on somebody weaker or that you picked on somebody, period, you will have massive, massive problems. Who your character is far more important to me than your grades. And any whisper of any kid saying bigoted stuff or homophobic stuff, I mean, my boys know. I mean, it is just an absolute iron fist on my hand. I will not tolerate the marginalization of other human beings, especially from children. And it's just incredible to me how many parents give their kids a pass because the parents themselves are equally as broken and equally as bankrupt when it comes to empathy and compassion. And it's just, there are times to have righteous anger. And these are those times. You only get to be a child once. And to these parents that teach their kids to be little bigots and little homophobes, or look the other way when the other kids in their class are little bigots or little homophobes, shame on you, man. That's just the most disgusting shit on the planet. Mold your kids into good people that stand up for the little guy. And it just gets worse with these MAGA people. It gets worse. Over half of Republican men under the age of 50 are Holocaust deniers. Pop this up. Holocaust denial among young Republicans, percentage who believe the Holocaust was greatly exaggerated or did not happen as historians describe. Among GOP men under 50, 54% endorsed Holocaust denial versus 18% of women over 50. And so what I have to say to this is not surprising. And the institutions, the nonprofit groups like the ADL, they are more concerned about people on Twitter calling Operation Epic Fury, Operation Epstein Fury. The ADL has now tried to link that and say that is anti-Semitic. And then they do not address Nick Fuentes. They endorse a president that said there were both sides in Charlottesville. They don't have a word to say about this. All this Nazi shit that's all over MAGA. They don't say a word about it. You know why? Because they only care about civil rights when it is only about them. They don't give a shit about Palestinians. They don't give a shit about Black people. They don't give a shit about anybody. But then they have watered down the word anti-Semitism so much, it's beginning to not mean that much. And that's really dangerous. It's really, really dangerous how they have weaponized that. And it's such a disgrace. And the hotbed of anti-Semitism all over this country is in the youth of the Republican Party and the leadership. Look at Elon Musk and his Doge guys. These guys are huge white nationalists, Holocaust denying neo-Nazis, all of them, every single one of them.
Well, and they've gotten media where you can't tell the truth about what's going on with the Israeli government because it's banned or they, suppress it somehow. And we're seeing that more and more and more with mainstream media being taken over by Zionists. You're not hearing all the bad things about what's going on in Israel, by Israel. And here's the thing, how they cannot understand that anti-Semitism lives in the Republican Party, it's beyond me. It's beyond.
And furthermore, when you see a country bombing schools and hospitals, and then they tell you can't criticize them,
right,
or you're a bigot, that you can't feel the horrors of war crimes. In my opinion, that's just going to incubate more anti-Semitism. The best way around anti-Semitism is transparency, freedom of speech, social justice. You don't get to commit war crimes, and then when people call you a war criminal, tell them they're an anti-Semite. It just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. So when you see the government of Israel controlling the executive branch of the White House, bringing us into this war that we have seen on tape, Benjamin Netanyahu for 40 years. I want to bomb Iran. They're going to have a nuke, blah, 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 blah. It's just like, this is a really serious thing. Anti-Semitism is a really serious thing. And the people who seem the least interested in resolving it is the Israeli government, and then the foundations that want to make sure Trump stays in power. The biggest bigot anti-Semite on the planet, his administration. Nuts, if you ask me. All right, that's all we have. Like, subscribe, comment. We'll be back later with more news.